Welcome to Rooster Radio, a broadcast dedicated to supporting and promoting local artists in the Gaston County and surrounding areas.
So where'd you drive down from? You're Greensboro, is that right?
I'm out of Raleigh.
Raleigh.
Yeah.
What part?
Kind of near Cary.
Dude, I used to live in Cary.
Yeah, Crossroads area.
Yeah, I used to live real close to there. I lived in a townhouse in Key West Muse,
Okay.
right near, is it Harrison Boulevard that runs, the Cary Parkway is the big circle, so we were right off the Cary Parkway, right near like a grocery store and a wing place.
I just traveled there for work. We went to work, to the hotel, and occasionally to a restaurant. And that was it.
Yeah.
Nah, dude, Crossroads is fun. There's a bar down, there's the Carolina Ale House right by the big mall area, and that was like one of the spots you used to go to. And then the Flying Saucer was next to it. But if you go down toward where the bookstore is and on the border, like there's like a little strip mall kind of at the end of that road, and like on the back left corner there was like this little. God, I cannot remember the name of that bar. Tommy's or Tony's or something. I can't
Max
remember.
Tavern, maybe?
Max, that's it. Max Tavern, yes.
Sounds nothing like Tommy's or
Yeah.
Tony's.
Yeah, so Max, they got dartboards, man. I used to go there and throw darts all the time.
Yeah.
But that place was cool because they had like this little outside area where they'd bring in music
Yeah,
sometime,
patio,
the little patio area.
Yeah, man, I hang out there a lot.
Do you?
Yeah.
That's a cool spot, man. I miss that place. That was like one of those like staples for me in my 20s out there.
It's kind of funny to hear what bars the musicians where they are locally hang out.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah, I like that's. I mean, that was one of. I was like I said, I was in my 20s back then. And that was one of the places in the Raleigh area at the time you could go for music.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Not a lot of places did music. A lot of places were like club style back then.
Right.
I remember we used
Get
to
and
on Thursday nights we'd go to PB's, old Pantana Bob's. You pay
down in
like
Greenville.
you'd pay like $10 to get in. And it was $1 beers, $2 shots, and $3 mixed drinks, and
That's a way to get
just
fucked up.
getting trashed.
The floors,
Yeah.
the floors are all constantly just sticky and full of broken glass. So
Oh, gross.
you come out, you're picking glass out of your boots all night.
Oh shit!
Yeah, that place was. I mean, that's one way to pack them in, boy. Let me tell you, I don't even know if you can afford to do that anymore at the price of liquor. But but man, we partied hard.
Yeah.
Do you find yourself like? Do you do solo stuff at all? Do you ever go out and just do like an acoustic show?
I don't do that, yeah, because I'm really not a lead singer, so
No.
playing by myself isn't really my thing,
Yeah.
But I do a lot of fill-in work for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You stay busy. Do you stay busy full time with music?
I got a day job, but I try to pretend like I'm a rock star.
Oh, we all.
I got a job that's flexible and
That's
Yeah.
That's
good.
cool.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's cool. Is that by design? Is that by design?
Yeah.
Of
Yeah.
course.
Your job is your hobby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Ladies
tell
and
my
gentlemen.
boss, like, okay, go ahead.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking to Bill from Stone Whiskey. Say hey, Bill. Say hey to that camera right there.
Hey, what's up, everyone?
And you can catch Stone Whiskey here live this Friday with Automag and
Well, Midnight Devils.
Yeah.
now.
Midnight Devils.
Yeah.
That was a late ad.
Yeah, so they're going to be the third band instead of Tom and Anthony. Anthony's having his gallbladder out.
Oh, that sucks.
So
bad.
so Midnight Devils jumped on that show, and they're awesome, man. They're on a little tour, and
Well,
through
here's
here.
what I will say about Midnight Devils. They immediately started promoting their show.
Yes.
oh yeah,
Immediately got on promotion as soon as they
Yes.
got on this, and I'm very grateful for that.
right,
Yeah.
yeah.
So-
I like their booking strategy. They sent out a tour list with a couple of dates and all TBAs, and with like a week later they were filled in.
Oh yeah.
Hey, taking
It works, it
whatever they
works.
can get, and and that's what we were talking about before the show about like promoting yourself and promoting your stuff. It's inevitable you're going to play empty room shows, but you don't have to. They don't all have to be that. You
Yeah,
got to
for sure.
put in the work, and you've been around the block, a little while. You want to talk a little bit about your history? Tell people how we ended up where we're at now with Stone Whiskey.
Yeah, so I've been a guitar player for my whole life, and I kind of got sucked into that tribute band world for a long time because it made a lot of money and kept me on the road and big shows. And then everything I was doing on the road kind of shut down in COVID.
Yeah.
And that's when really Stone Whiskey kind of took off because it gave us time to, we didn't have any shows and, we weren't gone on the road. So we, wrote an album and started focusing on that.
Talk about the members of the band. How did you guys come together? Because we had Griffey on the show a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And he talked a little bit about his history with you guys and how you guys kind of inspired him to join a tribute band and be a Poison, be a part of a Poison tribute. How did you guys all meet, and what tribute bands were you doing before Stone Whiskey?
Let's see. I was 20 years ago. I was doing a Poison tribute band, and I did a Motley tribute band, and I was at in the crowd at a wrestling show, and Griffey comes up, running up. He was hosting the show, and he comes running up, and he knew me from playing around town, and we just became friends after that, and started hanging out.
Was that the first time somebody was like, "You're that guy from that band"? Is that the first time that happened to you?
Yeah, might have been. Yeah.
Was he fanboy?
Yeah. He was fanboy. Yeah.
And you were like, "I have a friend."
I know, right? I'm like, well, great. Well, take me down and let me meet all the wrestlers then. Yeah, so we started hanging out, hitting the road, and all over the place. I mean, I've hung out with Griffey in California, everywhere in between. So yeah, I mean,
well, that's a fun story in itself. If you feel like telling it, tell me how you ended up in L.A. and then tell us what happened while you're there.
Well, I mean, I travel all the time for bands, my own bands. I fill in for other bands, and I also, I pretend not to have a day job, but sometimes I got to work for a living too. So I travel for that too. And one night, me and Griffey, we found ourselves in Dallas, and we're like, all right, we're in the same town, just coincidentally hung out, and then a couple weeks later, we find ourselves in L.A. So like, all right, meet you at the Rainbow, So we were down at the Rainbow. We went to a Steel Panther show. We come out of the theater. Somebody's like, hey, you're the guitar player from that band, and Griffey's like, oh, and they recognized him from the wrestling podcast. So we were like, man, that's pretty cool. We're in Hollywood, and people know who we are.
That is wild to go 3,000 miles across the country, and both of you get recognized separately for what you do professionally. That has to feel good.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun.
I have no concept of what that's like. Right. I can't recognize when I go out to eat.
Right?
Yeah. There's this running thing with my daughter. It's like a challenge. Like if we go out, she's just waiting for someone to recognize me so she can be like, see, everywhere we go. I think at first it was annoying, but now it's more like a game. It's like, will I get recognized when we go out in town?
Right.
I had to make it fun. I didn't want her to be annoyed by it.
That is a good way to make it fun.
Yeah. Well, it's even funnier when you get recognized and you don't know who you are. Like you're at a show and like, hey, you were great tonight. I'm thinking, well, I didn't even play, but thanks.
You just look like you would have played.
You ever leaned into that situation and be like,
no, I just roll with it. Yeah.
It's the best way to do it.
Buy me a shot. That was
what are we drinking?
But no, probably like 20 years ago, me and some other guys around town, we saw a Motley Crue tribute come through town at one of the clubs. And we were all in our own original bands and stuff, and we went and saw it, and we're like, man, it wasn't that good. We could
do that better.
We could probably do that. And the intention of the thing was we were just going to put it together for fun as a side band. Like, hey, once or twice a year, we're going to play this tribute band and have a fun show.
And it was just Motley Crue, right?
It started out being Motley Crue. It turned into Poison, and we had a Poison band, we had a Motley band,
but it was all the same guys.
Same guys, different costumes. But the intention was it was just like a fun thing to do every now and then to play this music. But as soon as we did it, we started getting booked everywhere, and it got to a point where we had to quit all of our other bands, buy a van and a trailer, and just be on the road for 15 years. And then. We hooked up with friendships with other tribute bands. Appetite for Destruction was a big band that was around that we were friends with, and eventually they needed a guitar player, and I joined that band, and that's where I met Chris from Stone Whiskey. So me and him played guitar for quite a while on the road. I always joke about it with it, like we've spent more time in hotel rooms together over the years on birthdays and holidays and stuff like that than
At this point, you're brothers, right?
Yeah. So we've seen a lot together.
And then how did the rest of the band come into the fold?
Yeah, so
well, first of all, let me ask you this. How'd you go from playing guitar in the Guns N' Roses tribute to, like, what made you leave that?
Yeah, so, it just, tribute thing kind of ran its course for me. And like I said, COVID kind of killed any
So you were doing that
any
all the
kind
way
of
up till
touring.
2020?
Yeah, I think before then I'd kind of backed out of the Guns N' Roses tribute band to do some other stuff. And then what I was doing kind of dried up with COVID. But Alan, the singer of Stone Whiskey, he played a show with us at the Ritz in Raleigh. I was a big fan of his band, and I had them come and play with us. And then we were at a party one night at my house, and we got to talking like, dude, we should put a band together, And it started off just like, hey, let's write some songs. So we got together, wrote a few songs, and then like, this is pretty cool. Let's join a band. And it was like, who do we call? It's like, well, I'm calling Chris, and you call Jim, and it kind of came together like super quick.
Really?
That's cool.
And yeah, it is cool. And you guys are a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Let's not bury the lead. Stone Whiskey is a very, very fun, very, very entertaining.
Yes.
I would say Southern rock, kind of 80s Southern rock band. Like, I don't like doing the comparison thing,
no.
but you're in the same wheelhouse as like, your Leonard Skinnards and your Allman Brothers, but you're a little heavier, I would say,
Right.
a little heavier.
Got a little touch of Black Crowes in there.
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Yeah.
The Southern aspect rings real true in your music.
Yeah.
And
The cool thing is we didn't know that on the first record.
Really?
And people were saying that. So in the second record, you're like, you know what? If we're gonna call us a Southern rock band, we're gonna put a choir on one of the songs, like
Lean
Black Crowes
into
do. We're gonna have some harmony leads on the guitars. Or like, we leaned into it.
Yeah.
Like, this is pretty cool. It's like a Southern rock version of Skid Row or something. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that is a good way. Yeah. It's like Southern rock meets 80s hair, and it's a lot of fun. Do you? Well, let me ask you this. You guys, your music's a lot of fun. How do you, with the guy, you played so many tributes, you've played so many other band stuff. What are you doing to like keep it original and like keep it from sounding like anything else? Because like you've got all of this
In your head.
shit in your head, and it's like when you go to sit down to write a song,
And I imagine
that's-
doing tributes for 15
yeah,
years.
it's got to be nerve wracking to like try to come up with something original.
It's kind of one of those things where it's unconventional the way we write songs. We send each other, we call them mouth riffs, like phone recorders of us humming stuff. I get a text from Alan, the singer, and I see it's like a video of his steering wheel. So I know, like, all right, what's going on here? And I hear him going, da, 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 da. And I'm like, okay, this is cool. When I grab my guitar, and we send stuff like that back and forth. So it's kind of an unconventional way of how the ideas spark, but then we get in the room and hammer them out. So,
Right on.
and we try not to be crazy. We're playing rock and roll, right? We want the songs to be catchy. We want
You're not trying to write 8 minute long,
yeah.
8 minute progressive,
Right.
3 different leads and
Yeah. So we want the musicians to like us, but we also want girls to like us too.
Right.
You gotta have catchy songs, right?
Well, that's why y'all started doing music, right? It was
Yeah.
For the girls.
No,
Yeah.
that's not why I started doing it, but okay.
I just mean, we're not making music for the people who are standing here like this.
Right.
in the
Dude,
front
I get
stage.
so fucking annoyed by those guys, man. It happens here a lot.
They won't move. Like I'm like,
Yeah.
hey, come to the front of this.
Yeah.
Come first. Sir.
My question is this. Why bother coming to a show
Yeah.
if you're just going to sit back, across your arms, and judge? Like,
Yep.
get into it. Like
You just listen to
you'll
it on
s-
Spotify or something if
Yeah,
you're just
you'll
gonna
see
be
me back here behind the bar dancing and jumping and,
Yeah.
and moving around
Oh,
and
yeah.
stuff. Like, I'm here to have a good time.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get that mentality at all. Like, have some fun, let loose.
They just don't know how to show their emotions on the outside. They're just rocks.
What's that like for you on stage when you get in front of a crowd and you're just giving them everything and they're just kind of sitting back?
Yeah,
like
I
this,
mean,
like-
the energy of the band on stage is what excites me about it. It's one thing to like play music, record music,
Yeah.
listen to it. But like we get up there and do our thing, and that's what's exciting to me.
At some point, you have to be like, "Fuck you guys, I'm gonna have a good time."
Right,
You know?
basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's infectious, and I don't understand how they're not catching
But
it.
like we've talked about before, people need permission. So if they're sitting there and they're just like standing back, they need somebody, like you said, to either be like, come up here and like get closer like they did last night, or somebody else from the audience needs to get out there and start flailing about and do whatever. Then other people feel like they're allowed to do it.
Well, that's
you
why
know?
a lot of times I will threaten. I will come out there and move you to the front.
Yeah.
Because I will.
Yeah, and you gotta try to engage.
Yeah.
Too,
Yeah.
you gotta look people in the eye. You gotta,
Well, Alan does a good job of that.
Yeah.
Like engaging and
Yeah, he does.
like staying, being entertaining.
He
like,
works the
yeah.
whole stage.
Yeah, the whole room.
Right.
The whole room.
Yeah, he works the whole room.
But
yeah.
it's
Yeah,
like
I mean
one
he's
scene
very
doesn't stay in one
animated.
spot,
He's
so-
very animated front man, and it's it's fun to watch, and people are really excited about. Like it fires you up.
Yeah.
Instead of just somebody just standing around, delivering a song. He's trying to get you into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a band play here early on one time, and the singer had one of those little phone things on the mic stand and was
Yeah.
like looking at his phone the whole time.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, that's not how you do it, bro.
No.
So it's like,
No.
that's
That's
how
an
you do it.
enormous pet peeve of mine.
Yeah.
When they hook the phone, yes, mine
Yeah.
too. Mine.
Yeah.
That drives me nuts.
Yeah, I mean, you probably.
will judge you
I
on
mean,
that.
how long are you playing? Like an hour, maybe 90 minutes or something. Like
But-
learn the songs.
It cracks me up when it's a very well-known
Yeah.
song, and I'm like, you're looking at your phone. It's a well-known song. Are you kidding me?
Well, if you're a beginner, if you're a novice, or you're just learning, that's like that's why we do open mic.
Yeah.
To give people a chance to get in front of people and work things out.
But I've seen
And
the ones who are not novices do it.
Yeah. The only time I would give a pass for that is like if you're like an acoustic solo act that's playing for 6 hours on the deck, taking requests for anything in the world.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
That's
Have your phone,
different.
look up some lyrics better. But I mean, if you're a rehearsed band and you're putting on a show, then put on a show.
That would be a fun show to do, though. Like try to stump the band. Like what's the dueling piano bar they used to have? Is it Rum Runners? Is that what it was
I
called?
can't remember the name of it, but yeah.
You know what I'm talking about,
I
right? It was
do.
in Moore Square,
Yeah.
in downtown Raleigh.
Yeah.
It was a dueling piano bar, and they did this thing like on like Thursdays through Saturdays. You come in and like if you gave them a tip and requested a song,
Mm-hmm.
they would play your song, and it got to where it was like you were trying to
stump
stump.
'em?
You
Yeah.
were trying to stump. You were
Oh.
trying to request something that they couldn't play.
That would be that would be fun.
That would be a fun show.
would.
Like to find like you'd have to find a group of guys that are confident enough,
Sure.
Yeah.
like to do that. But that could be
Yeah.
a lot of fun. Like.
We
would be.
we did that at my place one time where we had a couple of buckets and you would drop your name in and you would pick out of the bucket first what song you're going to play and second what instrument you're going to play it on.
Oh
You know,
man!
but all the songs we had were just your basic 3-chord songs and we had the lyrics printed out. So, but it was just fun. Like, all right, I'm on drums.
That's like karaoke roulette.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it
Like
does sound
band,
like
sounds
fun.
band roulette is what that
Yeah,
is.
that
yeah.
too. But I mean, because you had to wait. Yeah. Never mind.
What were the influences for you growing up? Like, what inspired you to put a guitar in your hand? How old were you when you first started playing?
Yeah, I was 16 when I first started playing, and when I started playing, I didn't realize that normal people could play guitar. Like, I only thought it was like you had to be like born into it or something. And then I had a buddy who he was playing guitar in a local club, and he was a few years older than me. I'm
Yeah.
16, he was like 19 or something. And when someone was like, "Wow, like how did you learn how to do that?" And he's like, "Yeah, just took some lessons." So I immediately went out and bought a guitar right then. I was like, "All right, I'm gonna do this," because up until that point, I was a huge music fan, as a listener.
Right.
And I grew up right outside of Baltimore, Maryland, and Kix was the big draw up there. So I'll credit those guys to the day I die as my inspiration. Brian and Ronnie from Kix. If I could be one of those guys, that's what I strive to be.
That's were your parents or were your folks like supportive and stuff? Like,
Oh yeah,
it's
yeah.
like, yeah, that's cool.
My mom took me to my first concert when I was in 5th grade, and it was a Rod Stewart concert. So
Oh.
it changed me. Still bleaching my hair.
What was your first concert?
My first concert was Hole and who opened? I think it was Goo Goo Dolls and Hole.
Okay.
at the Ritz in downtown or on Charlotte on Independence. It was. I know there's a Ritz in Raleigh. But there used to be a place called the Ritz on Independence in Charlotte, and I think it's a car dealership now.
Probably.
Some shit like that. But I saw 2 concerts there when I was 15 years old. It was Hole and Goo Goo Dolls, and then it was Bush and No Doubt was the other concert I saw. And that would have been like 94. I think those are like my first 2 concerts. Like my parents never took me to concerts as kids. And, we were raised in a pretty strict religious household, so we didn't. In fact, instead of going to concerts, we went to the kind of church that would burn those records.
Oh, right.
So that was my experience as a kid. So you can imagine, 11, 12 years old. It's what it is middle school.
Yeah.
I've said this before. Like you get to middle school, you start to get exposed to
It's
people
the
that are
awakening.
outside of like your immediate community.
Yeah.
And like you start to like learn a little bit more about other walks of life and stuff. Because you can keep your kids sheltered for so long, but once they hit puberty and they start talking to different people, you can no longer shield them from the truth. Right. And I just developed this insatiable thirst for knowledge and of things. And then I heard, early on it was like Mother Love Bone and Guns N' Roses were like the first 2 bands I ever got into.
Yeah.
Like there was a girl that lived down the road from us, and she had a Guns N' Roses Use Your Illusion cassette tape that she played for us one day when we were playing outside on a little boombox. And I was like, what is that? That's awesome. That is so cool. Yeah. And then of course the doors just swung wide open for me, and I got into, I listened to everything from, fucking Johnny Cash to Snoop Dogg, like I love it all.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. Yeah, my brother took me to an AC/DC concert early on too. And
that must have been fun.
Yeah.
Early AC/DC,
right?
The energy. Those guys. I don't know about right now, but I know up until about 10 years ago, they're still fucking bouncing around the stage like teenagers. I'm like, that's got to be one of the best things about constantly playing out as a musician is like your health wise, like being able to like move around and have fun. And
once you drop the drugs and alcohol, you're pretty healthy.
I don't know if they've done it for so long. I think they're just kind of.
I know.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's tough.
The body's used to it. Yeah.
The older you get, the more it hurts in the morning.
The drugs just change.
It's like you're doing the drugs when you don't need them. It's just when you're. It's when you start to get old and feeble that you need that shit.
Yep. Yeah. I know. We're kind of on a health kick right now. Not saying we're not drinking still. But I'm just saying all of us are trying to work out a little, and I'm riding a bike every day.
Trying to keep it together.
Alan's jogging every day. We're just, keeping it together.
Yeah.
Because like I said, like it hurts more the older you get. So as long as you, keep it active, you're all right.
4 ibuprofen.
I was going to say ibuprofen and caffeine, baby, in the morning.
Magnesium and potassium before you go to bed with plenty of water. You'll wake up, just be like, roll right out of bed, and you won't hurt. I promise you.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Well, I had a show last night in Raleigh at the Lincoln Theater, and after I was done playing, I'm hanging out near the merch booth, which is near the bar, and everybody knows that my favorite drink is a double Jack and Coke short.
Yes!
So, quite a few of those pass through my hands, and I'm like, I got to get up early and ride down to the Rooster. So,
Sneaks up on you.
Yeah.
Not if you drink water all day long.
So those days of 4 or 5 hours of sleep, it gets tough.
I started drinking vodka and club soda years ago. As it's a cheat code. You stay hydrated, and I don't really get hungover. It's when I start. It's when because I love bourbon. Like I do, I love bourbon. And if there's somebody, if I'm with a group and somebody's like, let's do bourbon, I'm like, all right, well, we're doing bourbon tonight, and those are always rough mornings the next day. It's like,
I'm pretty sure anytime you have a party at your house, we kill all your bourbon.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we ran through. I had we got down to where I was pulled out. Like they were like. This much left in the bottle of something I've had for months.
You know what I've learned? Yeah. Don't let him pour your drinks.
No. or arguably, let me pour the drinks.
I mean, you can get fucked up faster.
Double Jack and Coke short, man. Boy, I tell you what, man. People love their Jack Daniels.
Yes.
And it's not even the best whiskey, but people.
Well, that's a solid American
whiskey.
Universal,
It's like the Walmart of whiskey.
Well,
right?
you can pretty much go into any bar and say, "Give me a double Jack and Coke," and they're going to have Jack and they're going to have Coke.
Yeah. Yeah, at home it's more George Dickel and grocery store cola. Yep. But yeah, I don't go to the bar and say that.
Right.
Mine's either Evan Williams or Jim right now. You just get a handle, you know? It's
Yeah.
$30 and you're set for a while.
I don't really give a shit. Just give me some whiskey.
Yeah, I'm not there, man. I still buy the good stuff for home. Like,
Yeah.
I can't do it. I don't know. Just I was in my 20s when I was partying all the time up there. Like, hangovers were never really an issue for me. Like, and I don't know if any of you experienced this or not, but like pretty much all the way. I think I got my first real hangover when I was like 35.
Yeah.
I might feel a little slow in the morning, but back then I was running a lot, so I just sweat it out. Yeah. Never really got a hangover. But then the first time I'm in mid 30s and I had like a real hangover, I felt like I got hit by a truck. I was like, oh, this is what they're talking about. And then I'm starting to think, I was like, shit, man, does this mean I'm getting old? Like, because I had never experienced that.
Drink water all day long.
And that's when I started drinking vodka and club soda after that experience.
I was going to say at some point I realized the secret of staying hydrated.
Yeah.
Like my whole life, I didn't know that was the key. Like,
Yeah.
Because I was at a show one time and my hand started like swelling up to where I couldn't even hold the pick. I was squeezing a pick in my hand and playing until it fell out and putting another one in. And I went to the doctor the next day, and he's like, yeah, you were dehydrated. It's like, there's nothing wrong with you. Everything's great. So from that point on, I'm like, all right, let me try to drink some more water.
You ever overdo it before you get on stage? Like, you ever have to like fight through?
Yeah, I mean,
I've seen it happen so many times on the stage.
Yeah. I would happily say probably not anymore.
Not anymore.
Yeah, in my younger days, yes. Yeah.
We got some rules. We got some rules before you get up on stage.
Yeah, but now we want to put on a show.
You're
and
grown-ups.
If we want to get wild and crazy, then there's time for that after the show.
Right.
Yeah.
Like it's like come in, do your job, and then.
So you come get wild and crazy here while they're playing,
Right.
and then they'll get wild and crazy with us afterwards.
Yeah.
Right. When you're ready to go home and go to bed, we're ready to get wild and crazy.
Or drink water in between your drinks. And hang with us.
beforehand.
Yeah, and hang with us. I really do hope that that we get a big crowd for this show because I am so excited. Like, we had you guys down here. I didn't know anything about you at first. We had you on that show before. I was like, well, yeah, let's see what he's got. I saw your show and was like, oh man,
This is
these
good.
guys. I actually was trying to have it just you guys on this show, like just do 3 hours.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but we got to talking and you guys wanted to bring in Automag and like make it more of a show, bring in more bands, and I'm cool with that too. But I was so taken by your set the first time you were here, I was like, I can do a whole night of this.
Yes.
Well,
Agree.
we would love to come back and do a full night then.
Yeah.
Just sign us up, But right now, like as you know, like original bands, you need to pair a couple of them up to draw a crowd until you get to a certain level. It's just so we figured,
It's
team it up with a
tough,
couple
man.
bands
It's really tough. People just won't take the chance.
Yeah.
People just won't. And even it's even with like bars that bring in music, like they very rarely bring in people to do original stuff. They want you to play the hits or play stuff. It's we've talked about it ad nauseum on the show about how frustrating it can be for like when we know that it's going to be a good show. Like I already know we're going to have a good show, but how do we convince 100 to 150 people in town to like show up for stuff that they don't know? Like it's like I get it, but at the same time it's like take that chance because you're still going to have a blast.
Yeah, luckily we got a little bit of buzz going from that Monsters on the Mountain festival we played recently. So like even last night there were people that had driven from several hours in all directions to come because they saw us up there, so that opened the door to some cool things for us.
Yeah, I tell you, and that's one of that's like one of my favorite things about running this place is like I talk to damn near everyone that comes to the bar, and people will be like, yeah, I came from Galax, Virginia. I came from, we're up here from Charleston. We came from Knoxville. And it's like people will drive 2, 3,
I
sometimes.
came from Georgia.
Yeah, sometimes people will drive 5 or 6 hours to come to a show here. Hell, we had a girl came down from New Jersey one time for a show. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. That's incredible.
See, he talks to everybody up here. I talk to everybody when they go out on a smoke break.
Yeah. There's so many people that'll just get in the car and drive.
I'm one of those
Yeah,
people.
me
Like
too.
I've done, my wife
do
and
too.
my wife and I both are those people. Like I have gotten in my car and just driven
Yeah.
4, 5, 6 hours away for a show. And I've done it when I lived in Raleigh, the Lincoln Theater, you said where you are at last night. I can't tell you how many times I went to a show there by myself because all my homies at the time were lame as fuck. And they didn't want to go see a show,
Yeah.
They just weren't into the heavy shit. You know what I'm saying? I've always been into the heavier stuff. So I'll go see a heavy show by myself and make new friends.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't nothing to me. I had a blast, I remember I saw Shinedown before they were famous at Lincoln Theater.
Yeah.
With, check this out. It was Shinedown and Breaking Benjamin and Future Leaders of the World. I wish that band would have stayed together. That was that first album was incredible. That was a good fucking album. I don't know what happened with that band. And then the other band I think was Silverstein, actually.
Oh.
And like the Breaking Benjamin's Cold had just hit radio, and Shinedown's 45 had just hit radio, but they weren't famous yet. And Lincoln Theater's kind of like a little shotgun venue, It's
Yeah.
kind of long and deep.
Yep.
And like at the time, I don't know who ran sound at the time, but like it was one of those places where like all you could hear was the bass and the drums, like you could barely hear the singer. And it was like I had the time of my life, seeing these bands. Like I knew that night that those two bands, Breaking Benjamin and Shinedown, were going to be huge.
Right.
After seeing their live, I was like, holy shit, these bands are awesome. And sure enough, they both went on to be huge bands, and so did Silverstein.
Cool.
And it's just like if you just take that chance, and you never know what you're going to end up with. You can always leave if you're not having a good time,
Right. Yeah.
Because I've done that too. I've gone to shows and been like, this fucking sucks. I'm out.
Find something else to do in this town I've never been to.
Sure.
I'm not going to name any names.
It's kind of irony to have a band called Future Leaders of the World, and then they break up.
They were
Right?
so good, man. The first album was so fucking good, man. God, go back and listen when you get a chance, man. I don't know. Fucking people, man. You never know what people's got going on.
Right.
You gotta. So you said you grew up AC/DC, Motley Crue. Like, was there a specific band that like you said you saw your buddy play guitar and that kind of inspired you? But were you like trying to emulate anybody when you first put that guitar in your hand? Like,
Yeah. I mean, guys like Tracy Guns and those early. It wasn't called hair metal then, but those guys, the Guitar Hero guys.
yeah.
So those are the ones when I was learning how to play that I was trying to emulate.
Yeah, I mean, that was a whole phase of like people doing wild shit with the guitar. Before that, you had real creative guys like I always, anytime someone brings up like the Mount Rushmore argument or the best guitar player all time, everyone talks about Hendrix and Eddie Van Halen and Cream, what the fuck's his name? Eric Clapton.
Oh, yeah.
But people forget about David Gilmour. Like that guy was probably, in my opinion, one of the most creative guitar players that's ever lived.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But these guys were all doing like all this cool creative stuff with guitars, and then you get into the 80s and it was like just wailing, like that's when people started shredding. That's kind of where that term came from.
Yeah.
Shredding guitar, and it was awesome. Like I remember back, like I said, I got introduced to Guns N' Roses, and then I learned about Cinderella and Poison and all these other bands that were in that same genre. And it's like, man, this is awesome.
Yeah, but he's talking about Tracy Guns. LA Guns is killer.
I never really
yeah.
listened to them.
No?
I love me some Phil
One of
Lewis.
my favorites, yeah. Probably LA Guns, one of my favorites. Also, like Faster Pussycat and anything sleazy rock.
Yes, that's what I want to come back is the sleazy rock. I love that shit so much.
Yep.
I hear you.
So that's probably what I bring to the table in Stone Whiskey is that kind of influence because all
You
the
bring
guys,
the sleaze. I'm just
sleaze,
kidding.
yeah, I bring the sleaze because all the guys have a little bit of different, influence. Some
Yeah.
guys heavier, some guys newer, older, and mix as well.
Is there any newer bands that have like caught your attention? Because I know, like, as I get older, it gets harder and harder to like get into like what's new and what. But there are bands, newer bands that I'm into that I like and I listen to. You know, like right now, everyone's on Sleep Token's dick, and it's like,
I've hopped off that
you
one.
know,
for a little while.
my wife's a big fan. I respect it, but they're Deftones light. That's what they are. You know, it's
Baby making metal. That's all it is.
And then you got bands like Bad Omens, like Bad Omens slung the door open on like, oh, you can do metal like this, like, it's
Right.
Are there any like newer bands that's kind of caught your eye?
I don't know. It's a tough question, because I loved like when Dirty Honey came out doing their old school thing, but there's a lot of that stuff going on these days. Like younger kids trying to be 70s, which is it's cool, but there's I don't know. There's so many new bands out there, they kind of get lost.
Well, let me ask you this: Are there any local bands that you've seen recently that you're like, man, that's like, inspired you in any way?
Yeah, so actually we're talking with a lot of bands that on I guess you call them local bands that are willing to tour regionally and nationally to try to put some stuff together. Like a band like Bad Marriage or something out of Boston. We're putting some stuff together with them. They're out there making new music that's old school.
Right.
And I hate to say it like that, because I don't want to say we're making throwback music, but we're making new music that's inspired by the classic, here's two guitars and a screechy singer and high energy. That's the kind of music that we're making, which.
No, you want people to move around, like get up, and have a good time. Yeah, that's the I think that's the reason why that specific genre of music never really goes away. Like the hair metal, it's never died.
Yeah.
Because it's fun. I think
There was a small resurgence in the early 2000s with local bands, and they kind of just mixed. Like they were a little bit harder, and they mixed with a little bit of punk, but then they still had that sleazy hair metal undertone. They were fantastic. They were so much fun. And we've talked about that before, where that era of music just brought so much fun. And it was nice to see that kind of come back.
Yeah, I can't remember who it was we were interviewing, but we talked recently with somebody that was. It may have been Griffey. I don't know.
It was Midnight Massacre.
It was Midnight Massacre. That's right. Like how like that all that '80s hair stuff was just all about fun.
They loved that.
And then like it went from that to like grunge, from like the happiest, most fun shit to like the most depressing, sad shit. It became popular.
Yeah.
It's an interesting take, because it's like, it's like the world of music shifted, because like there was like a whole new generation of kids that weren't having fun, that weren't happy, that weren't fulfilled,
Oh yeah, like I was saying, I was learning how to play guitar and all the Guitar Hero stuff and all that stuff. But when I was actually gigging in my first gigging bands, we were playing grunge, because that's we were a cover band, and that's what was popular.
Yeah.
So I'm at home playing George Lynch solos from Dokken, and then I'm going out to my gig and playing Pearl Jam, some Simple Pilots. But now, today, there's plenty of bands like us that are, just playing the rock and roll they want to, like Kickin' Valentina out of Atlanta. They're.
I know Chris.
Chris. I've known it for years.
Me too.
They're doing what they want to do, and people like it.
Yeah, they just came back from a European tour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there does seem to be like a resurgence of like the Southern rock and stuff like that. Like,
Yeah.
I'm seeing a lot of that pop up everywhere, and I'm all for it. Like I said, I want to have a good time. That's what we're here for. Is my favorite shit is when I look out there and people are big old smiles on their face. They're dancing and moving and shaking, and that's kind of what you guys bring, is you give people an opportunity to do that. So that's why you should be here Friday to see Stone Whiskey.
I know, right? Come on out.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Get tickets in advance, save $5, or pay a little more at the door. You want to talk a little bit about the other bands before we get out of here? Give people an idea what to expect.
Right. So Automag is a band that's been around for probably 20 years, and probably call them maybe a Southern rock metal band. I mean, I don't know what you would classify them as, but I mean, they're one of those bands. They have groovy songs.
Somewhere between Skynyrd and Pantera.
Yeah. I mean,
people forget Pantera's a Southern groove metal band. Like that's like
right.
They not their first album, but they kind of they started like a new genre kind of metal music.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like they take the mix of heavy Metallica type music with a little bit of country vocal flair and
Yeah.
Southern influence, and they're really fun, and their songs are about beer drinking and hell raising kind of vibes.
Hell yeah.
You know what I mean? So they fit well with us. And then the Midnight Devils, I haven't played with them before, but I've seen them around, and they're a fun bunch. So I've already had people hitting me up, telling me stories like, "Hey, so you're playing with Midnight Devils?"
I have too. I've had a
it's
couple
like-
local bands tell me they were like, they're fun. I'm like,
Yeah, like-
okay.
Yeah.
All right, so they're going to bring the party.
So yeah, I think their latest album was produced by Chips and Up, or maybe one of their songs, something I was reading.
think so.
So that you can tell what kind of vibe and influence they're into with Chip being involved. So it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And we're doing some other shows with them as well along the way.
Awesome, and I'm excited. I can't wait. Like I
It's gonna
said,
be fun.
get here Friday night for this. This is gonna, this we don't do a whole lot of shows in like this. There's not a lot of bands that are doing what you guys are doing.
No.
Like there's a lot like nationwide, but here in the Charlotte and the North Carolina area. It's not a whole. I mean, you've got Hammer Down, but they do a lot of covers. But they
Yeah.
also have originals. And there's some, but you guys, is this going to be an all original set?
Yeah.
All original.
Yeah. Sometimes we'll throw in a couple of covers, just give something familiar, but
Just shot in the arm.
yeah, but it's not the ones you would think.
Okay.
Right on. Awesome. Well, Bill, I can't thank you enough for coming down here
course.
today. This man drove 3 hours just to do this show for us, to promote the show,
Yep.
so you can get off your butt and drive 15 minutes to downtown Gastonia and come see Stone Whiskey here Friday night.
Come get sleazy.
Yep.
Yeah.
And if people want to find more information about Stone Whiskey, where do they look?
Yeah, stonewhiskeyband.com. So
There it is.
we have 2 albums out,
Go listen to the music, get familiar with it all week, and then come here ready to sing along and dance your ass off.
Yeah, and if you want to see what it looks like, we've got at least 12 music videos out. We made a music video for every song on the first album, and we're already a couple into the second album.
And you can get all
Awesome.
that, get to that from the website, right?
Absolutely.
StonewHiskeyMusic.com.
Stonewhiskeyband.
StonewHiskeyBand.com.
.com.
God damn it.
I know you screwed it up.
Fucked it up.
Swing and a miss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bill. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
We'll see y'all Friday. Peace and love.